What is happening, everybody? What is going on? Whoa, that's loud. How's everyone doing tonight? Welcome back to another Sunday night with Plume Gaming. As you guys have seen, I changed my channel name to Plume Gaming. I just figured it makes more sense. Also, I looked up Plume Network, and apparently Plume Network is an actual like networking company. So I figured I probably don't want to get confused with that networking company. I only realized that because my internet provider uses them. So that was a very weird moment to see that a major company has the same name. So my name is now Plume Gaming. I don't think there is another major company out there that has the same name. But how is everybody doing tonight? Welcome back to another Sunday night. We're talking games. I have some topics to go over tonight. A little bit more of a structured show, probably, depending on where the chat takes me, because the chat generally derails me, not in a bad way, in a good way. But and then we just start talking about random stuff. It's been an interesting weekend. Not too much news, nothing crazy in the gaming industry. There's been some stuff, but I don't know if I'll get into that today, because I don't know if I know enough about it in terms of like game development and narratives and Sweet Baby Inc. and all that. I have to look into that a bit more, but I did find a website where knowyourmeme.com that goes over that entire controversy that I may get into later. But other than that, we have lots of stuff to talk about that happened throughout the week. Things that I like. It was another eventful week. It's been like a very eventful week. It's been a very eventful year. We're already March, and it seems crazy that we are already into March. And it seems even crazier when you look at like everything that's happened in January and February, layoffs, all the stuff that's gone on with Xbox. It's been an absolutely a crazy year. But welcome everyone into the chat. Hope everyone is having a great night. Hope everyone's had a great weekend and getting ready for another week of lots of stuff to talk about. Let's see who we have in the chat right now. Web Dave, welcome. Raichi, Silent, welcome to the chat. RSJ, welcome. Chicago 211, welcome to the chat. Joshua Erickson, welcome. CBH God, welcome. Bionic Wolf, welcome. Hope everyone's having a good time. Last, it's time to move to PS5, guys. No, it's not. It is absolutely not time to move to PS5. It is not time to move to PS5 because the Xbox ecosystem sells a lot of great stuff. With PS5 just does not do. I was just like sitting back the other day and I was looking at like cross saves, for example. How great is that feature? How great is cross saves? That PlayStation 5 still does not utilize if you're playing a game on your PC, with PlayStation putting out PC releases now, just being able to continue those games on your PS5, being able to take your save on the go. Speaking of games, what I've been on this adventure of just playing a bunch of different things all at the same time right now, which is something I've tried to get away from in recent months over the last year, because then I just never finished anything. But I guess at the end of the day, that's just kind of the type of gamer that I am. It's hard for me to get away from it. I just jump in and I play a bunch of different things. So I have a couple of games I'm playing right now on the go. I jumped into Binary Domain from Sega, from RGG Studios, Xbox 360 game. Phenomenal game from what I've played. I think I've played like 3-4 hours. Not like I haven't gone deep into it, but I believe it's only like a 9 to 10 hour game. So I guess I'm almost like halfway done. But it is a phenomenal game. It's like Gears of War with robots. I guess there was robots in Gears 4, but like kind of reminds me, like the enemies are kind of like from Terminator. Like it's a very cool game. Gears of War cover shooter, great characters, phenomenal game. And 360 era, I think I still think has some of the best games ever created, just in terms of the creativity of the narratives. The characters are always cool from that generation, and just the gameplay is just pure fun. Very cool game. If you haven't checked that one out, check that one out. Binary Domain, backwards compatible, has like auto HDR, has, I believe, FPS boost, and it looks really good on my Series X, which is what I've been playing it on. Like, you look at that game and you compare it to current games, and you're like, wow, that is a phenomenal looking game for a game that has come out on the Xbox 360. The other game I've been playing is I'm drawing a blank here. Banishers. So I've still been playing through that, playing some Banishers, going through that one slowly. I've been playing on my ROG Ally. For some reason, I've been playing Gears of War Ultimate Edition, and the reason I'm doing that is because I didn't realize that Gears of War Ultimate Edition had two different versions, as the Windows 10 version, and then it had the console version, and there's different achievements across both versions. So I've been going through that on my ROG Ally whenever I pick that up. I've jumped into Everspace 2 randomly, which is a pretty cool. It's like a space shooter. I don't really have an opinion on that one yet, but so far, I guess other than it being a kind of cool sort of game, I haven't played too much of that. So I've just been jumping into so many different things recently, and that's kind of where I am right now in terms of my gaming. And there's just so many back catalog games that I want to play, that I want to just finish off and get through. Oh, the other game I've actually been playing, it's a demo, Unicorn Overlord. I actually got a sponsor for them on a video on Tuesday. If you guys watched that video, they were the sponsor of that video. That just came out of nowhere, and I didn't even know too much about Unicorn Overlord. But to my surprise, I downloaded the demo and I fell in love with the game. And what is even more to my surprise is I had no idea about this game before that sponsorship came up. And then I realized it's Vanillaware, which Vanillaware has created two games that I absolutely love. Dragon's Crown, which I played on the PlayStation Vita, and Odin Sphere, which I played on the PS2 and the PlayStation 4. Actually, I have the collector's edition of Odin Sphere on the PS4. It's like those are side-scrolling action RPGs. And then I saw Unicorn Overlord after I got this sponsorship. I looked into it, and it's a strategy RPG, and I just been hooked to that demo. You get like 7 or 6 hours of gameplay or something. I played through that. A phenomenal game. I'm not even trying to sell the game because I got a sponsorship. I promise you. I already did my sponsorship. I put my ad out on my video. I don't have to do any more selling for the game, but it is great. That's one that I really, really want to play. Unicorn Overlord. Like, man, that demo had me hooked. If that's an example, if there's an example of what demos can do to get people to buy a game, I went and pre-ordered it after I played the demo. And it's just funny how it all came up that I didn't even know this game was coming out. I didn't know anything about it until I got that sponsorship. So, yeah, that game is awesome. Unicorn Overlord. So I've been hooked to that. Like I said, I've been playing just through a bunch of different stuff. What's up? It's Timmy. Welcome to the chat. I've seen that at Plume Gaming. I know it's not a big change. I've also changed my display picture. This isn't even a new picture. I just had it in my like folder of different branding stuff, and I'm like, I'm just gonna change it up. So yeah, check it out. Just download the demo if you like strategy RPGs. It's really cool. It's very in depth. The graphics are cool. The characters are awesome. Like, I'm really excited about it. It comes out March 8th, so I've pre-ordered it. Now I'm just trying to find, because I'm not gonna lie, guys, I'm kind of cheap. I'm trying to find 3 physical games that I have to trade in. I know it's GameStop, just like their trade values are shit, but I'm trying to find 3 games to trade in for it, because you trade in 3, you get it for free. And in Canada, for all those in the States or other countries, games are $80 pre-tax, and where I live, after tax, they come up to like $90. It's kind of ridiculous buying new games day one. It's actually kind of stupid, because games go on sale. So $90, kind of ridiculous. But anyways, that's what I've been playing. Let me know what you guys have been playing in the chat below. Let me just check out the stream stats, because I've just been ranting and I haven't seen what's going on with my stream. Hope everyone's having a great night. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff here. 75 of you guys in here. Appreciate that. Hit the like button. Share this around, as usual. And what are we going to talk about today? Well, I have 3 topics with a bunch of different kind of subtopics in there. First, I want to talk about just like Xbox news that happened throughout the week. Xbox was kind of on the quieter side this week, I'll be honest, but there is some cool stuff to talk about from the Xbox side of things. Then I want to talk about the Sony layoffs and just kind of the industry and how that is changing, because the industry is going through changes. And I feel like some people just don't understand that the industry is going through changes. They want everything to stay the same, which I get it. Change is hard. I'm not a big fan of change. I had to move twice this last summer, and that was probably some of the hardest times in my life, having to move over and over again. And now I don't ever want to move again. I probably will have to, but I don't ever want to move again after this last summer. So I get it. Change is definitely difficult. But the industry is absolutely changing, and there's a lot of good things, I think, from this. Obviously, there will be some bad things, as we have seen the layoffs and we've seen all the terrible stuff. We'll talk about that. And then I do want to talk about Nintendo and Yuzu and just that whole thing, because Nintendo's at it again. Also, the Switch 2 is being delayed to 2025 apparently. And if you've been watching my streams, I said, I mean, I like Nintendo a lot. I want to talk about Nintendo, so I'm going to continue talking about Nintendo. But we will jump into all of these topics. I hope everyone's having a great night. And yeah, let me know if the background music's too loud or anything. I like having the music in the background, kind of keeps me concentrated. And it gives me like a nice little vibe as I go through the stream. All right. Let me just set up this first topic here, and we will jump right into it. All right. Oh, that is coming up weird. I always click on the wrong one there. There we go. All right, let's start off here. Let's talk about just Xbox news this week. Let's talk about stuff that is happening within the Xbox world, because although it was a quieter week, there was no more questions about what they were doing, what 4 games were going over to PlayStation and all of that stuff. There was some interesting stuff that I'm going to jump into here. But let me just check out the chat first. Anybody here in here? What's up? I guess I've pretty much called out everyone here. I see X-Twat Fail Spencer for some reason deciding to join the chat with this must be an account that was probably created 3 days ago. I don't actually know when this was created, but you know, those types of accounts with those names. Give me a second here. Give me 1 minute. 1 minute. X-Twat Fail Spencer. What a stupid name. Silent. Welcome. I mean, I've already said welcome to you, but you know what? You have gotten the privilege to be a moderator. Yay! And you can't deny it. I mean, you can't deny it. You don't have to utilize any of your power, but now you are a moderator. Let's oh wow, mod me, Plume. I'll monitor. There you go. Perfect. Wow, we're on the same, our brains are connecting here. Let's jump in here. And let's talk about the first topic after I get my music back up and running. Yo, this like YouTube audio. Okay, so first of all, I'm using YouTube Audio's library because it's the only way you don't get copyrighted. I've tried Spotify, I've tried all this stuff, and every time my stream ends, I get like 10 emails. Boom, boom, boom. Copyright. And like it takes them literally like 10 seconds to switch songs for some reason. So I always think it's stopped, but I guess it is still going. Okay, let's just start off here. Xbox news, bunch of stuff to talk about. We're gonna go through a list of things here, and we'll start off with some news for Xbox Game Pass. And this is something that's like, obviously it depends if you care about these games or not. You may not care, but I think this is a nice piece of news going forward as to kind of what I hope Xbox continues to do with these styles of games. We've gotten games like Halo Wars, which released on console, these RTS style games, and they were they used controls on the Xbox controller that worked very, very well. We've seen games like Age of Empires have finally come over to console, but they never really released day one. And this is kind of where we are seeing this happen at finally the same time. And that is Age of Mythology Retold was announced or confirmed as a day one release for the Xbox consoles. It says here, Age of Mythology Retold has been confirmed for a day one release on Microsoft consoles, whose owners will be able to play it via Xbox Game Pass or purchase it digitally. This development marks a notable improvement in how Microsoft's first-party RTS games approach consoles, which have previously been more of an afterthought for them, with that strategy standing in stark contrast to most of the other types of Xbox Game Pass releases. So Age of Mythology Retold is coming out in Q4 of 2024. We don't have an official release date, but if you're an RTS fan, definitely one to look forward to. It's a remake or remaster, I believe, a definitive edition of the 2002 RTS game, and it releasing on console day one I think is pretty notable, because we just really haven't seen anything like this before, because they are PC games essentially. At the end of the day, they are PC games that are being mapped over for the console release. And I hope this is one step further into Xbox making sure that there's parity between PC and the console. And you think about everything that has happened over the last couple of weeks, this is definitely the way that they are moving towards. This is definitely the way that they are going, is trying to make sure that everything has parity across all the places that Xbox is on. I mean, that is one of the major reasons why they are, again, putting games in more places. And we saw the memo that Xbox put out with Xbox Everywhere. They are definitely setting themselves up, I think, to be basically just a Steam competitor that you can play on anything, that you can play on your Xbox console, you can play on your PC, you can play on your mobile, but all basically all having the same version. I mean, even when I go back and I think about what I've been playing right now, which is Gears of War Ultimate Edition, it's the Windows 10 version, which is different than the actual console version. And they definitely, I think, want to get away from that so that you can play your game literally no matter where you are. And I think this is kind of a sign as to where they're going with taking over a PC game and launching it on console day and date. Now, will I be checking this one out? Probably. I mean, I checked out Age of Empires 4. It was awesome. I mean, I didn't play like an insane amount of it, but this one here, I've never played the 2002 version, so this would be pretty much a brand new experience for me. And I would love to see how they utilize the Xbox controller with this game, because one of the things that I loved about Halo Wars and Halo Wars 2 was just how they were able to map that style of game over to a console itself. I would love for them to actually bring out a Halo Wars 3. I don't think it will happen. I don't know if the Halo Wars 2 was nearly popular enough, but they did a great job with that. They've done other games that you would think are PC only, like Gears Tactics, and that game also released on console. So I like this. I like how they're taking that extra step and making sure that these games are mapped on PC. And one of the major reasons, obviously, is because of Xbox Game Pass and wanting people who have the Ultimate version to be able to play the same game no matter whether they're on PC and whether they are on console. It goes back again to those cross saves and that cross progression. Another major reason why the Xbox ecosystem right now, I think, is still far better than the PlayStation ecosystem. Just being able to play games on any singular device. And when you're somebody who has like a ROG Ally, a PC, and then 2 Xbox consoles, I'm jumping literally between many different things, because sometimes, like, I don't have the time to sit down at my TV and play on my console. I maybe have an hour, I pick up my ROG Ally and I play that game on the ROG Ally and then transfer that save to my PC when I pick it up there. So good to see this. That was just I guess a smaller piece of news that came out of Xbox, but I thought that was pretty exciting overall. I thought that was pretty exciting overall, as one of the Xbox news this week. Furious Legacy Gaming, you need one more mod, to be honest, because mods aren't always available. I agree. Furious Legacy Gaming. I probably do need some more mods. I am, if you guys follow this channel, like I am mainly a VOD person, right? I put up Monday to Friday videos, sometimes even Saturday videos. This whole streaming thing is, I've never been the best at this whole streaming thing in terms of getting things set up. So I'm still trying to figure all that out. Any suggestions you guys have, let me know, because I'm still trying to figure that out. I want to eventually expand out. I would love to have like a more like in-depth show. Maybe have some people on here, maybe have some call-ins. Like that would be super cool. Just, it's finding that time to sit down and like actually figure this stuff out is where I lack. That's the biggest problem with my channel, is figuring out the time to figure out the logistics of it. Like I can get the content out there, I'm very consistent with that, but figuring out the logistics of my channel, even like I guess you could say the business side of the channel, I'm brutal at that stuff. I'm not even gonna lie about that. So yeah, I definitely need to figure that stuff out. But yeah, we will jump in here. Let's the next thing I do want to talk about, is this, because this was kind of hilarious to me. This happened at the beginning of the week. I believe it happened at the beginning of the week. We got to talk about this. I would love to see the comments on this one, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think about Pentiment. Maybe I'm soft. Maybe I'm just too soft on this type of stuff. But this happened, and that is, where are we here? That happened on Monday. I'm looking at the calendar. Make sure I'm in the right week. This did happen this week. So I get lost with all the news out there, but this definitely happened this week. Pentiment. As we know, Pentiment releasing on PlayStation, or has released on PlayStation 5. And there is a lot of like social media stuff. And it's like, you talk about social media. The reality is social media is a loud minority of people who outrage about things, and most people don't care about this stuff. But Pentiment's PS5 version was actually running better than the Xbox version when it did release on the PlayStation 5. So the difference here was there was a 120 FPS version of the Pentiment on PS5, and on the Xbox version, the game was locked at 60 FPS, which obviously leads, I totally understand, leading to people thinking, well, why are they releasing a better version of the game on the PS5? This is a first party Xbox game. It should perform and play best on Xbox. So Josh Sawyer of Obsidian, of course, responded replying to Kids Move and Peter005 on X, because they had asked what was going on, or I guess Kids Move had asked what was going on. And he says the 120 FPS mode will be enabled for Xbox in the next patch. It being disabled is just a bug. So this had a lot of discussions that popped up. The major discussion that popped up from this was, why is Xbox releasing their games better on the PlayStation 5? And is this something that we are going to see more of, I guess, in the future? Why are they releasing? So, and people were outraged about this. They were like, oh no, this shows that they don't care about Xbox. This shows that they don't care about the Xbox consoles. So I kind of understand that viewpoint, right? It's the optics of the entire thing. It's like, even although I totally believe Josh Sawyer here, people probably will think I'm gullible, or anyone who believes this is gullible, that he's only saying this here to save face because obviously the better version is on the PlayStation 5. I don't actually think that. Basically, what I think is what's happening here is that there was an update for this game to go out. They're putting a 120 FPS version of it, so they decided to release this game on the PS5 as the same day that this update was supposed to put the 120 FPS version of it into the game. And when they launched it on PS5, it went through no problem on the PS5, and obviously there was a bug here on the Xbox version that stopped it from being 120 FPS. So the optics of this obviously isn't great. If it's one of the first games going over, to the PlayStation, it's gonna set off people the wrong way to think that is this going to be something that is an occurrence in the future where they're developing these games, they're putting some games on PS5, and they are paying more attention to the PS5 version than the Xbox version. So I get that discussion. And if that does continue to happen, if something like this happens for future games, then obviously there is an issue here. Obviously, this is something Xbox needs to make sure doesn't happen. The best version should always be, or at least the versions should always be on par at the very least. But if there is a better version, of course, from a first-party Xbox studio, it should always be on the Xbox console. So it's unacceptable if if the best version isn't on the Xbox consoles. But with Pentiment specifically, this is literally a game where you flip pages. There isn't a single person that's going to notice the 60 FPS version versus the 120 FPS version. And there are a lot of people just crazily up in arms about this, which to me, it's just like it's a complete overreaction. Obviously, the Xbox is going to get the 120 FPS version. It's not a highly demanding game. It probably really legitimately is a bug. Is it a bad look that they didn't get that they had a bug when they did release something? Of course, yes, I get it. It's a bad look, but the overreaction, the insanity that I saw some people about this, like, if this continues to happen for let's say a first-person shooter, or like let's say Grounded has a better version, or Sea of Thieves has a better version, then yes, I can understand. Not something that Xbox should ever have to fall into. But I'm gonna withhold my doom and gloom about this until we start seeing this happen consistently, and I feel like that isn't going to happen. Where I think there is a bigger story here, though, it's not Pentiment. The bigger story, in my opinion, here is what's going to happen when the PS5 Pro comes out. Because if Xbox does start to release their first-party games on the PS5 Pro, it will be having the better versions, just logically. If it's more powerful than the Series X and the developers utilize that power. I mean, we've seen throughout this generation, there is that constant talk of like, are these consoles pulling out utilizing everything that's within them to give us the full potential and power of these consoles? Now, the Series X, very capable. The PS5, very capable. The Series X is more powerful than the PlayStation 5. I believe that the Series X, if developed for properly by developers, should always be giving gamers the better versions of those games. And people always argue all these things like secret sauce and all this garbage. But like, if you look at the specs of the PS5 and the Series X, they are essentially the exact same. They're both AMD. They both have very similar GPUs, very similar CPUs. Obviously, the PS5 is a variable frequency CPU, and the Series X is locked. And the Series X has, I think it's 12 teraflops of power versus 10 teraflops of power. They're essentially the exact same, with a slight power advantage to the Xbox Series X. So there's no secret sauce that makes games run better on one console or the other. Basically, it's where the developers prioritize their development, which is what I think makes these games run better. And of course, when they're making console games, they're prioritizing their development on PS5 because I guess there's more users and all that type of stuff. So when games do release that's not to say that games are always running better on the PS5. I mean, we've seen lots of games on the Series X running better than on the PS5. And we've seen at the beginning, we saw more PS5 games, but I think that's kind of leveled out. And I think maybe even the Series X has a slight edge in terms of where games are running better. I'd have to like look fully into that. But when the PS5 Pro comes out, if it is more powerful than the Series X and Xbox continues to put their first-party games on the PlayStation 5, what does that mean? Like, what does Xbox do here? Because that will be a huge talking point and a huge thing within the community that I think people will be totally upset about, confused about. And if you look at, there are people that truly care about like counting frames and the pixels and where the best version of the game is on the console. There are people that will go out, I think, buying the PS5 Pro to play some of these games if they start releasing their games on the PS5 Pro and they do run better. So that will be something that is very interesting to see how Xbox does handle this, because from what we understand, right now is that there's no Xbox Series X Pro in the works. There's an Xbox Series X Digital, but it's going to be the exact same power of the current Xbox Series X. So there's going to be nothing in there that gives it an advantage. But where I do think Xbox could come in here, and this is something that we're going to be seeing very soon. I believe this is GDC March 21st. Something that got me pretty excited to see how it eventually will be implemented. Will it even be utilized on Xbox consoles? Don't know yet. Although I'm excited about it, I am somewhat skeptical as to how much the consoles will use this, mainly because, let's be honest here, we have these machines that were touted to have all these tools in them, like fidelity effects and FSR, like the fidelity effects features, things like FSR, and like how many games actually utilize that. I can't really think of too many games that really utilize FSR from AMD. So it makes me skeptical that going forward, devs will truly utilize all of the tools available within the console itself. But there is this here. Microsoft is going to be debuting DirectX, DirectSR super resolution graphics tech at GDC. And the question here, could this tech end up in Xbox too? Because I think these types of tools right now are far more important than having a bit more power in your console. Than if the PS5 Pro is like 2 teraflops more powerful or something, or 4, is that really going to make a massive difference in the games that we get? What I think is more important is, how do these developers utilize these tools that are available to them and give us better performance? Because as of right now, I think the clear winner here that people want to see is steadier frame rates. Like, they want that 60 FPS. They don't want to compromise on that. They want, even if it's like 1440p, that's at least to me, 1440p 60 FPS, I'm completely okay with that. I don't need 4K 60 FPS. I know that was been the promise, but like, I'd rather them focus on 1440p 60 FPS and give us a steady version of it. Even honestly, 1080p 60 FPS, I will choose that over 4K 30 FPS in if I have that option within the game itself. But there is this feature here that could potentially help things like the Series S and even the Series X going forward if Microsoft does implement it. That is DirectXR, and it's a part of the DirectX Microsoft suite of APIs. They say here, for producing multimedia applications on Windows devices, DirectX provides consistent interface for software and hardware developers creating applications and accessories most commonly associated with video games in recent times. The latest version of DirectX, known as DX12, enabled improvements such as ray tracing, variable rate shading, mesh shaders, and other features that result in more photorealistic graphics. A lot of these improvements have generally focused on higher end computers and visuals, but this latest one could bring benefits to gamers on the lower end of the spectrum too, and perhaps even the Xbox Series S consoles. I mean, this is kind of what we've been hearing about when it comes to the Series S since it launched. And don't get me wrong, I love my Series S. I have it here, right under my desk. I use it all the time. I know we see a lot of doom and gloom about the Series S. Blame the Series S for everything. It's the Series S why people are being laid off. It's the Series S why the industry right now is on a downturn. It's the Series S why Toys for Bob went independent. I know people love blaming everything on the Series S, but the Series S, in my opinion, is a great console for what you're getting and for what you're paying out of it. I still use it all the time. And there are a lot of games out there that you get great performance out of it for, like, you can get that thing for so cheap now. So that's, the Series S to me has been great. But one of the things when it comes to the Series S that a lot of people were expecting to happen was getting utilizing the AMD Fidelity FX tools in there, the FSR, to make sure that games could continue to be released with higher fidelity but still get good performance, right? And I don't know if there's a running list or something. Like, I could just be uneducated fully on this, but I don't know if there's like a running list of games that utilize these AMD tools that utilize FSR, but just from the top of my head, I can't really think of too many. There are some. I think I saw an article recently about one that is utilizing FSR 3. I forget which game it was. But anyways, I don't think it's enough to really have a huge effect on the tech that is inside the Xbox Series console. So that's been unfortunate. But this is going to be Microsoft tech here. This is going to be direct SR from Microsoft, which may make it far easier for developers to just utilize this and make games run better. But speaking on the DirectX blog, Joshua Tucker from the DirectX team revealed that Direct SR, meaning super resolution, will debut at GDC 2024 on March 21st. So if you are interested in figuring out more about this, make sure to stay tuned for that. I probably will be watching that. He says this though. He says, "We're thrilled to announce DirectSR, our new API designed in partnership with GPU hardware vendors to enable seamless integration of super resolution into the next generation of games. Super resolution is a cutting-edge technique that increases the resolution and the visual quality in games. DirectSR is the missing link developers have been waiting for when approaching SR integration, providing a smoother, more efficient experience that scales across hardware." And that's the key, scaling across hardware, especially when you think about what Xbox's plans are with Xbox everywhere. It's great to want Xbox everywhere. It's great to want Xbox on every screen, but if like 70% of the people are getting shitty experiences because these games just don't run well, it's going to turn a lot of people off. And this is where these tools can hopefully come in and give people with a lower spec hardware good experiences with these games. Obviously, they won't ever look as good as like a 4090 or the 5000 series. Whenever those drop, nothing will ever look as good as the highest end GPUs. But if you can give people like a steady frame rate, like if you can give people a 60 FPS and if they're playing on small screens, you don't need a high resolution, a lot of people will just be completely happy with that. I know for myself, it's like on my ROG Ally, I just put it down to 720p on the ROG Ally because I want to try to get the best experience possible in terms of performance, and I'm completely fine with it. The game looks fine. If it plays good with the FPS, I'm okay with that. You don't need like high resolutions on these smaller screens, so it's all about getting that better performance. And hopefully this DirectSR is something that is legit. I mean, we'll find out more about it on March 21st, but if they can utilize this on the Series S and give that console even more legs, I think that'll be great. But at the end of the day, I think it does come down to the developers, and if they want to take that time to learn these tools and implement them into their games. We haven't seen it this generation, so I am kind of skeptical that we will see it. That's the thing. Yeah, but DirectSR does look. We'll see. We'll see more, but I am hopeful, to say the least. I'm hopeful to say the least. Talos, welcome to the chat. Welcome everybody who is just jumping in now. This is just my Sunday night stream where I just kind of talk about all the stuff that's happened in the news and then prepare for the next week of gaming news, because of course I already have my video filmed for tomorrow. There's lots of stuff to talk about, so tune into that as well. But thank you guys all for stopping by. On the slate today, if you're just jumping in, I'm talking about some Xbox news to start. Then I'm going to talk about the Sony layoffs, and then I'm going to talk about Nintendo stuff, suing Yuzu, kind of go read an article about the history of Nintendo and everything that they are involved with lawsuits, and then we'll probably end it from there. But welcome everybody, you are just jumping in. MJ Dark, welcome to the chat. The thing is, Xbox is this showing up here. Oh, 1 second here. Let me set this thing up. Let me set this thing up. Um, MJark, the thing is, Xbox has to make sure they put in this in their games and other devs will follow. That's a good point. Yeah, Xbox has to put these things into games. That's another question. It's like, has Xbox been utilizing any of the AMD tools in their games that they have been releasing? Because if they haven't, right, why would a third-party dev ever want to do that stuff, right? It isn't. If the first-party developers aren't doing it, why would a third-party dev ever want or take the time to shoot that? I mean, you're developing for PS5. Sometimes you're developing for PS5, the Switch, Xbox, Series X, Series S, PC. Like, I get it why developers don't take that time with, especially what we're seeing right now with like how expensive things are coming in terms of developing these games. But it's like unfortunate that we haven't seen that, because the question when it comes up about the pro consoles all the time, right? Like, why do we need these pro consoles? Why do we need these pro consoles? We haven't seen the full potential of the Series X. And I mean, we're never going to see the full potential of the Series X until first party studios start giving us that full potential. And that's the thing. Maybe Hellblade 2 will be the first time we see the full potential of the Series X. That's my hopes. That's my hopes, that somebody's not going into Hellblade 2 excited about the gameplay or excited about like the puzzles. I'll be completely honest, based off of the first one. I've said this on my channel a ton. I'm not a huge fan of the Hellblade of Hellblade 1, but I am really excited about, are we going to finally see what happens when a first party developer can pull out the full potential of the console itself? And I know we have GPUs that are far more powerful than the Series X, but there's still something to be said about first party developers really focusing on a piece of hardware and getting all of the power of it. I mean, just think of The Last of Us when it released on the PS3 at the very end of its life cycle, right? How insane was that? Like, how good did that game look at the end of a hardware generation? So hopefully we do see something like that from first party Xbox studios soon. And I think Hellblade 2 could be that, but we're close. We're 2 months away. We're 2 months away. So we'll see how that all happens. Yeah, we're still going on here with some Xbox news. But yeah, if you guys will have any questions, you want me to see your chat, either at me, so that like now I'm Plume Gaming, so I think that's what it'll take me, or obviously like super chats and stuff, but I mean that's up to you. So either at Plume Gaming or super chats, and I will see your thing as I'm going through this, because it's hard to follow the chat at the same time as reading through these articles. But let's jump over here to the next thing. Okay, we got to talk about the biggest thing that happened in gaming this week, or in Xbox this week, that everyone is still talking about. Toys for Bob. Toys for Bob is going independent. Now, also, yes, okay, I gotta pull this up here. Yeah, I'm gonna advertise the channel. But I don't, like I said at the beginning, I'm terrible at this business side of things. Look at these beautiful stickers. What are they called? Emoticons? I don't whatever they're called. Look how beautiful these are. If you guys want access to these, $1 to support the channel, to join the membership, you get access to these. And if you have suggestions of some other ones I should make, let me know in the chat. Do I need a new hat? I need a new hat. Oh, wow. Bitch. I just realized that it says Plume Network. I didn't even realize that until this second. I do need a new hat. Matthew, you're right. God damn it. I do need a new hat. It says Plume Network on my hat. Wow, this is a huge dilemma for me. Like, now I'm going to be thinking about this all night. I need a new hat, because my video tomorrow also has me wearing the hat. All right. I'll deal with this. Is not your problem. This is my problem. So I will deal with that at a different time. But man, sad. Okay. Yeah, now I'm like, Matthew, you really threw me off here. Now I'm just now I'm like going OCD on my hat. Ah, it says Plume Network. It says, by the way, for everybody in the chat who's just jumping in now, I changed my name to Plume Gaming. I know, it's a massive change. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if I destroyed my branding from Plume Network to Plume Gaming, but I changed it to Plume Gaming. I've been thinking about it for a while. It was like the story behind. I know it makes sense to change to Plume Gaming, but the real story behind why I changed it is because like when I moved into the place I'm in now, which was a couple months ago, my ISP sent me these like pods that like allows your Wi-Fi to work better in different rooms, and it said Plume on it, and I was like, damn, Plume, that's my name. So I looked it up, and they actually have a company called Plume Network, and it's a big company. So I was like, okay, I probably should change my name, not for like any other reason than if people are looking me up, maybe they'll jump into like the Plume Network that isn't me. So I might as well change it to Plume Gaming since I talk about gaming. It makes sense. And now I have to change my hat that I didn't even think about. Now I'm sad about that. But let's talk about Toys for Bob. That's why you guys are here. Toys for Bob going independent. They put this out February 29th, a couple days ago, about them spinning off as an independent game development studio. And they just talk about, I'm not going to read through this. I did talk about this in my video. I read through it, but basically they're going indie. What's funny is that on my video, I had some people telling me that Microsoft still owned them, which is just like, no, they don't own them. They're independent. They own the IPs. And they do mention here, however, that they are exploring a partnership with Microsoft, which makes complete sense, because what I'm thinking here that happened is that they said, hey, Microsoft, we want out. We want to go indie. We don't want to be subject to any more of these layoffs. And Microsoft is like, okay, have fun, go indie. But obviously we're going to be keeping the IPs, and you still have some contractual agreements with us that you're going to have to like fulfill. And we will figure something out here. But I guess I will read it. So this is from Toys for Bob. We're going indie. We're thrilled to announce that Toys for Bob is spinning off as an independent game development studio. Over the years, we've inspired love, joy, and laughter for the inner child in all gamers, which, I mean, I'll be honest with you. This is why I love Toys for Bob. They did definitely inspire that like inner just joy of video games. Like when you played them back in the day, when you were playing the Spyros on a PS2, when you were playing the Crashes on PS1, like it really brings back those great memories. And they did such a phenomenal job of remaking those games that this by far for me was the most exciting studio that Xbox was getting, because I love those games. I love those games back in the day. I love 3D platformers. And I was really hoping that Toys for Bob was going to come in and Xbox and Microsoft were going to give them just free reign to make like a Banjo, to make more Spyros, to make more Crashes, and just give us more 3D platformer style of games, and not work on Call of Duty, because that's one of the big things here is they were a support studio for Call of Duty. And I don't want Toys for Bob going anywhere near Call of Duty. I'm sure they do a great job, but like that's not where their talent is. Their talent is remaking some of these incredible games. They say here, we raised the bar for best in class remasters in Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Great game. I still have my physical copy on Xbox, and it's phenomenal. Crash Bandicoot we've taken Crash Bandicoot to innovative, critically acclaimed new heights. So they did a remake, Crash 4, like great stuff from Toys for Bob. With the same enthusiasm and passion, we believe that now is the time to take the studio and our future games to the next level. This opportunity allows us to return to our roots of being a small and nimble studio. To make this news even more exciting, we're exploring a possible partnership between our new studio and Microsoft. And so that's the big thing here. And like I said, I think this is because they're obviously going to want to make more Spyros, more Crashes, and all of the IPs under Activision that they could have access to. They wouldn't want to throw that away, because I think that would kind of be stupid from their perspective. Like, You want those IPs. You want to be given those IPs because you're going to be making a lot of money off of those IPs. If you create a great game, people are going to buy those, just whether they're fans or not, like a nostalgia purposes. Like, you want to make a new Spyro. You want to make a new Crash. Those will sell well. So it would make complete sense to jump into a partnership with Microsoft after going indie. And I'm sure there's some contractual agreements in there as well that they have to fulfill. Like, I don't think it's like completely just they're gone and that's it. And they say here, and while we're in the early days of developing our next new game and a ways away from making any announcements, our team is excited to develop new stories, new characters, new gameplay experiences. Our friends at Activision and Microsoft have been extremely supportive of our new direction, and we're confident that we will continue to work closely as part of our future. So keep your horns on, which to me is a kind of a hint that a new Spyro is coming. I don't know if anyone else caught that. Keep your horns on. It's kind of a hint that a Spyro game is coming. And your eyes out for more news. Thank you to our community of players for always supporting us through our journey. We can't wait to share updates on our new adventure as an indie studio. So Toys for Bob is indie. And the discussion around this is, like, I saw some knee-jerk reactions. About Toys for Bob going indie. Basically, like, people were like, oh, this is an L for Xbox. Oh, Xbox, they screwed up the Activision Blizzard acquisition. Oh, this acquisition was a bad thing and they should have never gone through, and all this stuff. I saw some real knee-jerk reactions out there about this. And my initial reaction is, this is great for gamers. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this. This is a good thing at the end of the day, because yes, we have seen Microsoft and we've seen Xbox allow studios to be creative and allow studios to make the games they want to make. You can count some of them just from Obsidian alone. You have Grounded and you have Pentiment, right? Like, I'm sure Microsoft knew Pentiment was going to be a huge numbers pushing game. Like, I don't know how well Pentiment sold. I'm sure it didn't cost that much to develop. So maybe it was profitable. Maybe it wasn't. I'm guessing it wasn't that profitable because they put it on PS5. But either way, Microsoft said, go ahead, make the game, which is good. It's great to see that. Grounded. Grounded is a successful game. How profitable is it? Not sure. I'm sure it's made some money, but I mean, there's a reason why they are putting it on PS5, because they wanted to make more money. The margins probably just aren't there for it. But that's another game that Microsoft could have said, no, we want you to make a game that you're known for making. We want you to make an RPG. And we don't want to waste money on that, but they allowed them to go ahead and make Grounded. You think of Rare. They made Sea of Thieves, which was definitely a risk that may have not started off well, but it's turned out extremely successful. I think 35 million players in that game now. So yes, Microsoft is definitely known right now as letting their studios make the games that they want to make. But at the end of the day, we are going through a huge transition in gaming. And will Xbox still be as lenient with allowing studios to make those games that they do want to make, right? With everything that we are seeing, layoffs, studio closures, IPs being canceled, margins just not being good. And we are at a kind of a crossroads here where it's like there maybe was a potential, because Toys for Bob was hit by those 1,900 layoffs that Xbox and Microsoft did. Was there a potential that Toys for Bob could potentially have been completely closed off in the future? And now that's not really something that will, I guess, at this point, have to worry about, because they are going independent. They have money from the whole acquisition. They get to branch off and then not be under any sort of corporate boot and literally make whatever they want to make, where this is a studio that I think has the ability to give us some great games. If you're a fan of those 3D platformers, if you're a fan of those like Crashes and those Spyros and stuff. So I'm really excited to see this, because maybe they would have been stuck as being a Call of Duty support dev going forward, just to make sure that those games were as profitable as possible. So I think this is a good thing. I guess there is a question as to like, well, why didn't they just keep them under Microsoft and they just let them kind of branch off and do their own thing? And we'll never really know that answer, but I think the alternative for Toys for Bob is like potentially being closed or going indie and trying to prosper. So I think overall this is a good thing, and they're gonna still obviously be working with Microsoft. This is a win-win because the old IPs, the Spyros, the Crashes, the games that they have made are going into Game Pass more than likely. So it's a win-win for that side of things, and then hopefully we'll get more games. And the other side is like Toys for Bob potentially was going to make games that would have to release on PS5, and this is Xbox just kind of like moving themselves away from that. They're like, we don't have to deal with having to go through the backlash of a first-party game releasing and potentially going multi-platform, because now whatever the next game is that they do put out, if it is a brand new Spyro, if it does release on PS5 and the Nintendo Switch, it's not an Xbox first-party game, so they don't have to deal with that backlash. So, at the end of the day, I don't really see a huge negative point in Toys for Bob going indie. I think this is at the end. I think this is overall a good thing for gamers if you like their games, and if you don't like their games, then it doesn't even matter because you're not going to play it anyways, right? So, yeah, that's my whole take on this. I saw this as a positive thing, and it could have also been another studio closure if they didn't do this, right? We've seen so many studio closures, and everybody's out there super sad about these studio closures. This is something that could mitigate that some point or another. So that's where we are. And again, like, we could talk about the whole ABK acquisition forever. I mean that thing lasted for 2 years as they were going through trying to close it. And I think more so than ever, with everything happening right now, let me just take a quick drink because my throat's getting a little raspy here. With everything happening right now, within the gaming industry, I think it's more obvious than ever that the reason why Xbox purchased ABK is what they said. It's not for a studio like Toys for Bob. And that's no disrespect to Toys for Bob, because again, that's the studio I was most excited about. No disrespect to that, but it is because they saw the writing on the wall. That the sustainability of making AAA games and locking them to a console or to a finite amount of users is going out the window with just how huge and how insane these development costs are, and why they purchased ABK. Again, Phil Spencer was not lying. It was for King. It was for mobile gaming. It was to expand out in places where Xbox has a small market share. And in order for them to continue to providing all of the content we love on console and all the content that we love on Game Pass, they need to expand in places where the growth isn't stagnant. And that is mobile. That's even PC to a certain extent, right? And even PlayStation sees that it's even PC and mobile, that they need to expand in those places or it's just not going to work. And we're going to talk about the PlayStation layoffs. I guess this is kind of a good segue into that. And people have been talking about this all week because it is huge. What's happening at PlayStation right now is in my opinion, I could be like, this is just the way I see it, and maybe there's some Xbox bias that's thrown into here because my primary platform is Xbox. I'll be completely honest. Like, maybe I'm a bit biased on this, but what happened at PlayStation this last week is far worse. And I think if you're somebody who's in these ecosystems, far more concerning than Xbox putting 4 games onto PlayStation and potentially putting more games onto PlayStation in the future. And the reason I say that is because Xbox has been setting themselves up for this point since 2017, and maybe even before that, but at least you can get from like an outsider's perspective publicly, at least since 2017 when they announced Game Pass. And PlayStation has not been. PlayStation has been scrambling and pivoting and scrambling and pivoting and scrambling and pivoting. And they're at a point right now where if you take a look at their financial reports, you take a look at their margins, they are not doing great. They're there. They're going to be fine in the future. Like, don't get me wrong, they are going to be fine in the future, but they are in a spot right now where they are pivoting and scrambling far more, at least the way I'm seeing it, far more than Xbox is pivoting and scrambling. Matthew, lol. Well, I don't know what you're lolling at, but you did take me, so lol. Yeah, and we see this here with these layoffs. And again, I know people would hear me say that and say, well, didn't Microsoft just lay off 1,900? Yes, Microsoft laid off 1,900 people, but they also have far more studios, and they just made a $70 billion acquisition. And a lot of those layoffs are of clearly redundancy. Not that it makes it any better. It's still shitty, and it still sucks for all the people out there, because we're seeing a gaming industry where CEOs and management have made these poor decisions on how games should be developed, going to like literally making games into movies. I don't know why. I don't know why we're in an industry where there's more emphasis on making games into movies than into actual video games. Clearly that has hurt the industry a ton. Clearly that has led to a lot of layoffs. Clearly that has increased development costs. And I think one reason why that's happening is, and I think this is something that like people could either take in a good way or a bad way, but I think one of the reasons that's happening is because gaming has just become more mainstream, and they need to appeal to a broader range of people. So these companies think like, hey, let's just make our game into something that will hold your hand and walk you through the game and just make it very cinematic. And unfortunately, that's obviously turned into games just being far more costly. And we're seeing this fallout here in the last 2 years. And obviously the pandemic also played into that. Furious Legacy Gaming. Well, Plume Gaming, PS5 sold a record-breaking 68 million units so far versus Xbox Series X 5 million units. Now, okay, I don't know, I can't confirm those numbers. I'm sure the Xbox Series X, 5 million seems extremely low. But if we're seeing anything here, Furious Legacy Gaming, it's that console sales is not the measurement of success anymore. I don't know why we're still fixated on console sales when both companies here are going multi-platform. Clearly, console sales is not the measurement of success. Until game development starts falling back down to 360 era numbers, console sales will never be the measurement of success. CT Fire both laid off 8%. That's true. I mean, both have laid off a lot, but the reality is both have completely different scenarios in these layoffs. One just made a $70 billion purchase. You're clearly going to have redundancy in the rules. It sucks. I wish that like that didn't have to happen, and I wish like the higher ups, the CEOs, would take more pay cuts. But that's just a reality of the situation. You're not going to have 2 people doing the same job or 3 people doing the same job because these roles are redundant. And obviously that wasn't just redundancy roles in the 1900. There was other roles that got laid off, but yes. Both companies had major layoffs. The whole industry has had major layoffs. The whole industry has had major layoffs. Which leads me into, I mean, this is a perfect segue. You guys let me right into the perfect segue, which is the Sony layoffs. We are already an hour into the stream, and I just got through the biggest Xbox news this week, and I really have to go to the washroom, but you know what? I'm going to power through. I'm going to power through this next one here. This is my fault for having a drink while on stream. The bladder just, once you break the seal on the bladder, it just does not stop. So, I'm going to power through here into the next topic, which is the PlayStation, the PlayStation layoffs. We have to talk about this because this was probably the biggest piece of gaming news this week by far, and that is SIE here. So I'll pull it up. Gotta grab it. We will hit over here. We got an important update here from PlayStation. This one's from Herman Hull. So we also had Jim Ryan who talked about this. He put out a statement, but Jim Ryan's is basically just like, hey guys, we're laying off 8% or 9%, whatever it is, of the 8% of the current workforce, 900 people. It will be impact for employees across SIE all regions, and it'll be impact about SIE all regions, America, EMEA, Japan, and APAC. Several PlayStation studios are affected. One of the major things here is that PlayStation Studios London will be closed in its entirety, and this is, to me, like, this is unfortunate for somebody who is a PSVR 2 owner, obviously a PS5 owner. This one to me is very unfortunate because PlayStation London worked on many VR games for the PSVR. I'll just pull up the games. I'll pull up the games that they did work on. Blood and Truth. They literally worked on PlayStation VR Worlds, which is like the pack-in that came with the first PSVR. And now I understand that PlayStation London was not working on a VR game right now. They were working on some sort of online multiplayer game. But I mean, like, they could have also had potentially a side team working on VR. Who knows? Or maybe after they finished that online multiplayer game, they could have been working on VR. It basically just sent. This tells me more so than anything. I still had hope. I still had a bit of hope that PSVR 2 wasn't sent out to die, and that I didn't waste my like $800 on it. I mean, just, I feel like an absolute idiot, to be honest. A little bit less because they are bringing it. I'll be completely transparent. They're bringing it to PC, which is great. That has me excited, and that has made me feel less shitty about buying PSVR 2, because now I know I'll actually be able to play some great games on it. And the tech within PSVR 2 is very, very good. It's a great VR headset. There's just no games. But this studio closure has basically solidified, in my mind at least, that they sent PSVR 2 out just to completely die. They're abandoning it. They have nothing to do with it. It's not selling enough, especially with the margins and especially with what's going on in the industry. So PSVR 2 is essentially just going to become a headset that is a third-party headset that you can use on anything, which is fine. I'm happy they're bringing it to PC, but they didn't even try. They didn't even try to give us good first-party games for PSVR 2. They gave us one pack-in, and essentially that was it. And now they're closing PlayStation London Studios, which was a studio that created a game like Blood and Truth, which was awesome. And now I have no more hope for any just like very tuned first-party PlayStation experiences for PSVR 2. So that was one of the biggest things to come out of this. And then we have an update here from Herman Holst, who says that there's a reduction in the workforce coming to Insomniac Games, which you would think, oh wow, Insomniac Games, why would they be laying people off at Insomniac? Don't they make Spider-Man? Isn't Spider-Man the most popular superhero in the world? Isn't it just an easy cash in for Insomniac to put out a game and make a ton of money off it? Clearly that isn't the case, because we saw the Insomniac leak, which was like $300 million to produce these games, which is absurd. A lot of this probably has to do with just making it into dealing with Disney and royalties and just a bunch of stuff. So that did not work out for them. Before I continue, Jay Cyan here with the one member for 1 month. I appreciate that, JJ Cyan 117. Appreciate you guys. If you want to become a member, it's $1. Just to support the channel, and you get some cool pictures or emoticons or whatever you want to call it. It just helps with the continuance of the daily videos and everything like that. Appreciate that, GG sign for the being a member for 1 month. It means a lot. So yeah, Insomniac Games. So you're like, wouldn't that be fine? Like Spider-Man, that's guaranteed money bags. Obviously not the case. Naughty Dog. You think Naughty Dog with the Last of Us series would be a clear cash in? Really, that's not the case either. They have to lay off people there. And they say, as well as our technology, creative, and support teams. It tells me, this is, to me, as a layman who follows the gaming industry as closely as I can. Like I follow pretty closely. Like I'm on looking at everything every single day, but I have a family, I have a job, I have other hobbies other than video games. So I am essentially a layman at this type of stuff. I just like give my opinions. It just really tells me that these games that PlayStation makes, these highly cinematic third person action games, are just far too expensive to make. And they've kind of, well, on the PlayStation side of things, people like when you think about Xbox versus PlayStation, I've seen people talk about how Xbox has kind of groomed their fans to not want to ever buy games because of things like Xbox Game Pass. Well, if you take a look at what PlayStation has done, they've kind of groomed their fans to only want games that have the like like basically are movies. Only want games that are basically like movies that cost $300 million to make, and that they can't sell nearly enough copies of to be able to make up to have good profit margins here to be sustainable. So there is a negative on both sides, no matter really how you look at it. If you think that Game Pass is evil because it tells people not to buy games, then you could also look at the PlayStation side of things and think that like there are a lot of games in here third person, like Last of Us, you have the Uncharted, you have God of War, very third person, like you that hundreds of $1 million to make, and people just aren't buying them enough. So there's something going on here that they have to change in order to be more profitable. How can they be more profitable? I think making smaller games. I think making more AA games. I think making more fun games, like gameplay wise, would be a huge step forward for PlayStation. But we will see if they ever jump into their back catalog now, because what we have seen from PlayStation more so than anything is that instead of jumping into their back catalog, they are going with remasters and remakes over and over again for the same games to try to make some money back. And I hope that's not the case, because the heyday of PlayStation was the PS2. Even the PS3 had some great games too, like a lot more variety. Think about the SOCOMs, you think about the Resistance, you think about the Infamous, you think about the Sly Coopers, you think about the Jack and Daxter games. Like those were that was the heyday of PlayStation, right? And we just don't see that anymore. And I would love to get back to that, because that's when I was much bigger into PlayStation. Now it's like the same third person narrative games, and it's just, I want some more variety in their catalog, and I think their variety could help a lot. So I hope they do take some more risks with their games, and not just continuously try to remake and remaster everything. But they're in a tough spot right now. Having to close these studios, they're in a tough spot with their operating margins, and it's gonna be a less risky industry here for PlayStation going forward, as everything that is happening with the layoffs across the entire industry. But they do continue on here, and Herman also says something interesting. He says, at the same time, our industry has experienced continuing and fundamental change, which affects how we will create and play games. So is that telling? Are we going to see different style of games from PlayStation? He says, delivering the immersive narrative-driven stories that PlayStation Studios is known for at the quality bar that we aspire to requires a re-evaluation of how we operate. Delivering and sustaining social online experiences, allowing PlayStation gamers to explore our worlds in different ways, as well as launching games on additional devices such as PC and mobile, requires a different approach and different resources. And this is where I get back to what I was talking about earlier when I say, as much as people were getting on Xbox about releasing their games onto PlayStation 5, those 4 games, and potentially, again, believe it or not, whether you want to bury your head in the sand or not, Xbox will be releasing more games on the PlayStation. It's just a matter of when, in my opinion, and what, of course, because they left the door wide open on that, which I don't care. I don't care about that. It's not a big deal to me, because exclusivity only benefits, in my opinion, the actual company itself. And the gamer at the end of the day does not benefit. But the reality of the situation is, when you look at Xbox versus PlayStation, they're both moving into being multi-platform. They're both moving into putting their games, although they already have, but they're moving further into that, putting their games into more places. If you're comparing PlayStation to Xbox, who is better set up for the future of the way the industry is moving? And I don't even think it's close. I think Xbox has they've set themselves up and they planned way better, and they had far more forethought than PlayStation when it comes to where the industry is going, how they're going to have to distribute their games, how people are going to be playing their games. I think Xbox is in a far better position. And whether that pisses people off, because if you're just a console fanboy and you're really mad that people on PlayStation get to play those games, it's irrelevant to where the industry is heading towards. And it's like the writing's all over the wall. These companies need to expand out their user base. Keeping people locked to a console just isn't good enough. It is not making nearly enough money, because they have let their costs get out of control. The only way back I can see, if these companies ever want to get back to console exclusivity, would be to release smaller games, to release AA games. And I'm totally okay if we see more AA games. I'm totally okay if we see smaller games. If we get back to more like Xbox 360 era, like I'm okay with that. I'm okay with more gameplay, less movies. I'm a fan of that, to be completely honest with you. So it's all coming down. It's all coming down, and we're seeing it now play out in real time. It's a very interesting time now to be somebody who makes videos and covers this stuff, and to be like locked into what's going on in the industry. It's a very interesting time, because I don't think we've really seen another time like this. There was a video game crash, like I think it was back in the 90s or something, but this is the closest we've ever in my lifetime where I can truly remember where there's this massive shift. Because if you think about I'm trying to think when I was very conscious of gaming, where I could really sit back and think about the gaming industry and like look at everything that was going on. I would say it really started with me in the OG Xbox, PS2, and the GameCube era. And now nothing really has changed drastically since then, until Game Pass and what's going on right now. So it's a very interesting time, and then PlayStation is following suit. More PC games, more mobile games. I think we will see day and date PC and PlayStation games coming much sooner than we expect, and that's a good thing. I think also I hope that they will have cross saves if they start doing day and date onto PC like they do on Xbox. Herman Hulse, he continues here and he says, "We looked at our studios and our portfolio." Make sure we got no comments. Okay. "We looked at our studios and our portfolio, evaluating projects in various stages of development, and have decided that some of those projects will not move forward." So this was another thing. They canceled a bunch of projects. One of those is a Twisted Metal game. To me, is sad. I mean, I was a Twisted Metal fan back in the day. That was one of my most important PS1 games, I would say. Twisted Metal. Like, that game was just, man, it was huge to me, and we just really haven't gotten too much great Twisted Metal recently. So seeing them cancel this is unfortunate. It's unfortunate that people don't know like the greatness of Twisted Metal, that they don't think that it'd be big enough to sell enough copies to be worth putting out. That's, again, like a sad thing. But yeah, that's canceled. There's a bunch of other games. I believe they canceled a ton of games. I don't know what the whole list is, but one game that isn't canceled is Horizon's online game, which is interesting because there were cutbacks at Guerrilla Games as well. So Horizon, it clearly is a franchise that they're going to keep doubling and tripling down on because it is successful. So that is one of those games that is not canceled. Of course, we know about factions got canceled. That was a major thing that they, in my opinion, misled a lot of people with the release of Last of Us 2, just to go ahead and cancel the game that isn't good. So we'll see. And what brings it, what the other thing here that's interesting is that we know Jim Ryan was big on the future of games as a service and online games, right? And I think it was 10 or 12 by 2026. I gotta look up exactly. I always forget if he said 10 or 12 games by 2026, but let me know in the comments if you guys remember what he said. And it seems like a lot of those are being canceled. So Hiroki Tsuki came in here, looked at the numbers, looked at what is going on at these studios, seeing that these development costs were just getting completely out of hand, came in, put the hammer down and said, you guys got to be more accountable for the costs of these games. And we're going to be canceling a bunch of projects and we are going to be laying off a bunch of people. And PlayStation is now in a restructuring and a pivoting as to what are they going to be doing going forward. Now, the sad thing about all this, again, as I mentioned previously, I think that all this means right now is as PlayStation pivots, as they get ready to become more multi-platform, as they get ready to have a more diverse catalog of games to bring in revenues in many different ways, multiplayer and games as a service, we are going to see a relatively long period of time here of very little innovation and very little creativity out of PlayStation, where they're just going to be putting the same thing out over and over and over again, and remakes and remasters over and over and over again to guarantee a cash in on those games as they try to pivot. And this is where I think Xbox was far better set up for where the industry is. I'm sure back in 2017 when they launched Game Pass and they were going through everything, and I'm sure Xbox saw where we are today, the writing on the wall. That's what I think is kind of obvious, where they moved further and closer to Xbox everywhere. I think, and just getting games onto multiple devices and trying to broaden out the reach of how many people are going to be able to play these games. Matthew, you've got a lot of ponies in your. Changing your name may have given you more exposure. You have a lot of. Oh, really? You think? I don't know. But yeah, the ponies are rampant these days because of everything that's happened. Ponies are rampant these days because of everything that has happened. I have a couple more things to get into, but I don't think I can hold the bladder any longer. So I will be right back, guys. I will be right back. Don't go anywhere. Give me like 17 minutes. I'm just kidding. Like under a minute. I'll be right back. All right. All right, I'm back. I am back. I am back. Ponies going bananas. What ponies are here in the chat? I need some more mods in here. I guess I need some more mods. It's not like I don't care if that there are ponies in the chat. It's just like if you have guys saying just stupid things, right? That's where it's like, come on. This is a mature discussion channel. Is that a good way to describe this channel? I don't know. I don't know. We were talking about the Sony layoffs. Sony layoffs. Yeah. I mean, I think I said my piece on that. Like, I think Sony's going to be fine, but I think they're behind the 8 ball in terms of that pivot. And I guess you could argue like, hey, Sony they've afforded themselves to be behind the 8 ball because they've been so successful over the last generations. And sure, that's a fair point, but business is never a guarantee. It is just never a guarantee. And we could see some more changes here going forward, especially if those margins do not increase. Those investors at PlayStation do not want to see that. Anonymous boss, what's going on? Welcome. I don't know if you've been here the whole time, but you just tagged me, so welcome. This is chill, Sony fans. This is a non-drama trolling chat room. That's true. That is true. That is true. So let me see here. Let me get some. Now, when it comes to I forgot to change it. Pick here. When it comes to Sony layoffs and just the industry in general, it's been a pretty crazy week. It's been a pretty crazy week in terms of like we're finally seeing some Embracer give up their studios that they purchased. The Embracer Group thing has been just an absolute terrible thing for gaming. It's been an absolute terrible thing for people working at a lot of these studios where they've had to like out of nowhere be closed, IPs being canceled, and we're seeing now Embracer finally sell some of these studios. One of those studios is Saber Interactive. Which, as we know, is working on the Knights of the Old Republic remake. But this one hits kind of close to the heart when it comes to the KOTOR remake. Oh man, we saw when this was first announced, okay, and I can't remember all the details, but they announced it PS5 console exclusive, and then there was a writer on the game who was essentially literally trying to ruin the game, and that got taken away. And it was originally a collaboration between Saber and Aspire, and a production partners, Lucasfilm and Sony Interactive Entertainment, were all involved in this, and that got all changed over. I believe now Saber is going to be, they're just completely working on this game, the KOTOR remake. And Saber Interactive is a part of the Embracer Group, and now the Embracer Group has sold Saber Interactive to a group of private investors, but KOTOR is still being worked on. So there's just a lot of moving pieces here that's pretty crazy. But as we know, the Embracer Group has been absolutely terrible since, I would say that they had a deal with a Saudi Arabia group for $2 billion that fell through at the last minute. I'm guessing Embracer was banking on that deal going through. And now that it hasn't, they have to completely restructure and rethink everything that they are doing. So they've closed studios, they've laid off people, they've canceled IPs, and now they are selling studios, and one of those is Saber Interactive. So they have sold to a private investors group, but apparently they're still working on the Star Wars Knights of the Republic remake, which my fingers crossed that will actually be good. I'm very skeptical that this game is going to turn out to be anything but just just absolute shitty. Because of everything that's gone on with it. I don't even think it is a PS5 console exclusive anymore. I'm not a 100% sure on that, but there seems like there's an opening here for somebody to come in here and pick it up, or just goes multi-platform. But Star Wars Knights of the Republic for me is like such a iconic, such a huge game in my life of gaming, because it's a game that really got me into RPGs. Probably the first major game that got me truly into RPGs. I remember going into it, you won't know this story unless you live in Canada, but a microplay, they're few and far between right now. I don't think there's very many of them open anymore. But I remember going into microplay as a kid. I remember going with my dad, and there was this like, I don't want to be mean. He was a great guy. He was a great guy, but I'm just like pulling the memory from my brain. There was this very large, I'll just use the word large. There was this very large Japanese guy that worked at this store. Great guy. And we didn't know what to buy. And we're just like, what can we buy for the original Xbox? Something that, what do you recommend? And he pulled out Knights of the Old Republic. We bought Knights of the Old Republic. Took it home, not knowing really what type of game it was, what I was going to be getting into. And I played through it. And I remember that being like the first like aha moment of RPGs for me. So for me, Knights of the Republic holds a very special place in my heart. And when they came out, they announced it, okay, PS5 console exclusive. I'm like, okay, that's shitty. That's an exclusive. I wish it was available everywhere, but I'm going to be picking this up day one on PS5 if it comes out only for PS5. But my biggest thing here was the writer and what the Aspire Media of the game. And I was worried that it was going to be ruined because of just like, people want to put their own twist on games. I just really wanted a KOTOR remake that was true to the original game. Upgraded graphics, maybe some updated gameplay. Like, I'm cool with that, but just make a better version of the game itself, and don't change the narratives, don't change the characters, don't change any of that type of stuff. So I was a little worried about that, but obviously that didn't end up working out for obvious reasons. And now we're at a place where it's still in development, apparently by Saber Interactive. Now they're going independent. So to be completely honest, now that they're not under Embracer, I'm somewhat more optimistic about how the game will turn out, but I hope that it does turn out well. I would much rather this game just get completely canceled and they never remake it than a developer come in here and just completely botch the game up and throw in some current day garbage in here that will ruin the game itself. So I hope that doesn't happen, but we will obviously have to wait and see. But Embracer is definitely they are changing, they're shifting, they mess up crazily with all the purchases that they did make, and they've sold off here Saber Interactive to a private investor group. I'm hoping those private investors are big KOTOR fans, and that they make sure that the game comes out properly. The other thing here that I think a lot of people are wondering what is going to happen with this company is Gearbox. Gearbox is potentially going to be sold in the next month or so. And we know Gearbox is known for Borderlands, which is a beloved franchise by a lot of people. That's probably one of Embracer's biggest developers that they have. And it looks like here that they may be being sold, as it was recently reported that the Embracer Group is closing in on the final stages of a deal that'll see Gearbox sold out from under the rapidly restructuring company. It has been claimed that Gearbox is closer than ever to being sold. Following sessions last year, the company was being sized up for a few options, including independence from Embracer Group and a potential transfer. So we'll see what happens here with Gearbox. But this is the question: do people want like an Xbox to come in here and buy your Gearbox? Do people want Sony, if they can afford it, to come in here and buy a Gearbox? Or is that something that you would rather just see kind of go off to another private investor group, kind of be more independent and continue to make those games? For me personally, I don't really care. Like, if it goes to private investors, that's probably the best course of action for a Gearbox, so that they don't fall under any major corporation where they have to potentially make things they don't want to make or work on things they don't want to make. But at the same time, I feel like Borderlands would fit absolutely perfectly within Xbox and their ecosystem. Just the style of game it is, first person shooter, playing with your friends. Like, imagine a Borderlands into Game Pass. That's the thing. As a big Game Pass fan, like, I love to see more and more games coming into Game Pass. But we'll see what happens here with Gearbox. They're apparently being sold. We don't know who they're being sold to. I feel like Gearbox is one of those developers that will have a bidding war for it. I think it will. I feel like it could be a bigger company getting Gearbox, and we won't know now for a couple of months. But this is the Embracer. They have been absolutely just shitty, terrible for the gaming industry with all of their purchases and all of their closing of studios. Like Free Radical, they're supposed to be making a new Time Splitters. They closed that down. Just garbage. So Gearbox going into I think will probably be what's going to be happening. Probably the best course of action for them. So those are the major changes that happened this week in the gaming industry, and we're going to see more of this type of stuff. Like, we are going to see tons more of this, as we're going to see tons more of this throughout this year, which is crazy to think about, with already all of the layoffs and everything that has happened over the first 2 months. I guess we're at the beginning of March, first 2 months of the year. We are going to continue to see a ton more stuff here happening within the gaming industry. J Gaming, can I become a mod? J Gaming, I'll be honest, I don't know who you are, and I feel like you could be a Sony guy trying to overtake my channel here, because you have a Spider-Man in your display picture. So no, you cannot become a mod. You cannot become a mod. But if you're not one of them, welcome. And I haven't seen you around the channel, so yeah. But I will eventually be giving people mod access on this channel. But, like, there's a few names in here that I see all the time that I wouldn't mind. J-Game, no, I'm not a Sony guy. I literally have one mod on here right now, and it's Silent Cypher. But because I actually know Silent, so I trust him. But, I don't know how this whole mod thing works. Again, right? Like, I could just make anyone mods and unmod them if they're doing stupid stuff. But, like, I've always thought my chat's been pretty good. But apparently I'm hearing that there's a lot of bickering going on here in the chat. Is that true, guys? Like, just let me know. So that's what's going on with, of course, with PlayStation, with their layoffs, and it's been a pretty crazy week. Silent Cypher is slaving at least 15 channels. The moderator. Yeah, it's been a wild week. It's been a wild week. Okay, the last couple topics I do want to talk about. Is some Nintendo stuff. Matthew, do we have a date for Xbox podcast or whatever they have planned for holidays like previously stated? For the holidays? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Well, the summer, there's going to be a summer show. I don't know about the holidays. So I'm not sure. Like, do you mean like in September to December timeframe? Not sure, but I think they should. I think they should have a developer direct more than once a year. I don't think it should only be at the beginning of the year with the amount of studios that they do have. what do we got here? What do we got here? Furious Legacy Gaming. I was the first one to ask for mods. Scrolling up and see for yourself. Okay, Silence Ever. I was here the whole time. Yeah, but you know, honestly, Furious Legacy, I'll be completely honest with you. Like, are you a new subscriber? Like, I don't. Excuse me if I don't recognize your name, but I just don't recognize your name. I have to give mods to people I don't know. You know, like Rachie, I see in the chat all the time. I see him on my videos. I would give him a mod, no problem. But I don't know if Rachie wants a mod. Talos, if you want to be mod, I'll give you a mod. Furious Legacy Gaming, excuse me if I'm offending you, but I just don't know if I just haven't seen you on the channel. Maybe I just missed you. Dude's baking for Jake. I do need to get some mods for sure. I do need to get some mods for sure. But you know, it's like, who do you give mods, right? As I've said on my live stuff, I'm not great at this stuff. Plume is nervous to give the keys out to the kingdom. It's understandable. That's it, Silent. That's it. That's right there. That is the truth. They said they were going to give more information regarding hardware during the holidays. Yeah, Sarah Bond said something about more information about hardware. I think if I remember correctly, she said something about more information and that is coming. The hardware is going to be coming in the holidays or something along those lines. But I feel like they're going to announce the information at this summer showcase, and then that hardware or whatever it is going to be releasing in the holiday season. I think the hardware is just going to be the digital Series X. Like, I don't think there's any, I think she misspoke on that. I believe it was kind of updated in like a Verge article or something. Like, I don't think we're getting any information on the next generation of Xbox hardware. I could be wrong. I honestly hope I'm wrong. Like, it'd be cool to hear about like a portable Xbox. That'd be incredible, like a handheld. But I do think we are going to be getting that announcement for a digital Series X, and we've seen the leaks that have come out online. So apparently there was a video that people have seen, and that's kind of what they're talking about. I don't know if we're going to get next gen hardware. What do I think about Unicorn Overlord? A caveat here, I have to say this so people don't think I'm just saying this because I on Tuesday last week I got a sponsor from Unicorn Overload. I talked about this at the beginning of my channel, at the beginning of the stream. I didn't know much about the game. I am a Vanillaware fan because I love Dragon's Crown and I love Odin Sphere. And then I played through Unicorn Overlord after getting that sponsor, and I was like, okay, I'll check out what this game is all about. And I played through the demo. Like, it's phenomenal. I'm going to be playing Unicorn Overlord. Absolutely. It's a great game. But just don't even take my word for it. Just go download the demo. It comes out March 8th. Go download the demo. Try the game for yourself. You get like 7 hours of gameplay on the thing, or 5 to 7 hours, whatever it is. And you get a full understanding of the game. It's a great game. Yeah. More Unicorn Overlord hype. Plume, hype the game. Go. There's not much I can do to hype Unicorn Overlord other than download the demo today, play it. If you like strategy RPGs, you're not going to be disappointed. Vanillaware is an awesome developer. I don't know how I didn't even know about this game as someone who's played some of their previous games, but it is great. It's really, really good. And it's like, it's coming out at a time where people are playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I feel like if you're a fan of that, like, definitely go check out Unicorn Overlord. Ogre Battle 64 flashback. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, that's it. So it's great. It's great. From the demo. I'm assuming it doesn't get worse after the demo. I'm assuming it does not get worse after the demo. But yeah, like, I was talking to my friend who was excited for Unicorn Overload. I was like, didn't even know about the game. I was like making fun of him because of the name for some reason. I was just like trolling him a little bit. And then I downloaded the demo and I was like, yo, this is legit. This is a game. This is a game that I would be deep into. Then I pre-ordered it after I played the demo. Yeah. All right, let's jump over here to the last thing I quickly do want to go over, which is we got some Nintendo news, guys. We got some Nintendo news. Let's talk about some Nintendo stuff here. Because Nintendo is doing what Nintendo does. Now, caveat, I love my Nintendo Switch. I'm a big Nintendo fan as well. I love Xbox. I'm a big Nintendo fan. I like PlayStation as well. I used to be a much bigger PlayStation fan than I am today, but did I spell suing right? Did. Okay, good. Nintendo. I don't know how many of you in the chat emulate or buy on the Switch, but Nintendo is suing Yuzu. And if you don't know anything about Yuzu, it's basically a Switch emulator where you can play better versions of Nintendo Switch games on your PC. And before I continue, Last says, Plume Gaming, what Xbox games are you most excited for, and PlayStation games too? Xbox games that I'm most excited for this year, or just in general. I mean, Fable is one I'm extremely excited for. I'm a big Fable fan. Avowed, I cannot wait to play Avowed. I know a lot of people saw the Avowed trailer and didn't like some of the combat, but I think Obsidian does a great job. So I'm very excited for Avowed. I liked everything that I saw. Those are probably the two that I'm most excited for. Hellblade 2 I'm very excited for, but more so from just seeing how they're going to be able to utilize the being a first party with all the resources behind them graphically, just how good Hellblade 2 looks. So I am pretty excited to see that as well, just how that looks on the Series X. PlayStation games that I'm excited for. Stellar Blade looks pretty cool. That looks actually like a lot of fun, although I know those aren't, it's not a first party, but I am pretty interested in that. And I will be playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth at some point. I think I will be playing it. Not right away. I know it's out, but I will be jumping into Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Sweet Baby Inc. is involved. You know what? Sweet Baby Inc. is involved with Fable. I'll be honest, when it comes to Sweet Baby Inc. stuff, I didn't know. I guess we're just going into chat mode here. No one who cares about Nintendo's suing Yuzu. They're suing Yuzu. Nintendo just does this shit all the time. They sue a bunch of companies. As much as I like Nintendo, they are super shitty when it comes to their practices. That's just the reality. They sue a bunch of these companies, but then they don't also give you any options to be able to play their games. So it's like it's like a rock and a hard place. I get with Yuzu, it's a Switch emulator, and like, yeah, Tears of the Kingdom was downloaded a million times before the game was even released. I feel like they have somewhat of a case there, but like Nintendo is terrible for game preservation. They sue ROM sites, so people can't play ROMs. They do a bunch of like anti-consumer stuff as well. Yet I love their games, and I enjoy Nintendo, and I buy everything that they have. So I guess I'm sort of a hypocrite when it comes to this, but I don't agree with like a lot of their practices when it comes to like emulators and all that shit. So basically they're suing Yuzu, which is again, Switch emulator, allows you to play Switch games. But when it comes to this Sweet Baby Inc. stuff, I know that is the biggest story that's going on social media and just in gaming right now. I'll be completely honest, guys. I didn't know too much about this Sweet Baby Inc. stuff. I started looking into it this weekend. I didn't fully understand exactly what they did and who they are. And I started seeing more about it, and I started seeing the games that they were involved with. And then you start to see like how shitty these games do. Now, I don't know if it's purely because they were involved with it, because a lot of these games are created before Sweet Baby Inc. gets involved. But I do think we are in a era where it's just like people have just want to play the art that gets released from these developers. They don't want companies coming in and changing them up because of like uh the political atmosphere that we are in, and they don't want people coming in. They don't want them to change up games and narratives just because these companies are afraid to take risks with some of the stuff that they do put out. They just want to play the art of these games. And when a company, what I don't get at all about Sweet Baby Inc. is like, in what world do these developers and these publishers believe that they are going to make their games more or better, or even make more money? Because I mean, like, it just doesn't make any sense. A lot of these games that Sweet Baby Inc. has worked on, these games have not done well, and it's not because people hate diversity and inclusion. Like, people don't hate that stuff. It's because they put these things into games that make no sense in the narratives that are being put out. And yeah, I've been reading a lot about it this weekend. I don't really have a full opinion on it, other than like, there are some previous tweets. I went to I Know Your Meme. Actually, I can pull this up because this is kind of a good summary as to what is happening. Know Your Meme, because like I said, if you were to ask me last week, do you know anything about Sweet Baby Inc? And I would have been like, nope, I don't know anything about them. I don't know what they do in games, but I definitely learned a lot. I definitely learned a lot. Change this. I definitely learned a lot in the lot. And I mean, obviously, this kind of, I saw, whose video did I see? I think it was Oh No, It's Alex's video, where he linked it back to Gamergate, which was like a wild time in gaming. A wild time. But okay, Sweet Baby Inc. controversy refers to the video game narrative consultant group. You know what's funny about Sweet Baby Inc. too? They are based in Montreal in Canada. This is a Canadian company, guys. So I guess you get to blame Canada. You get to blame Canada for this if you hate Sweet Baby Inc. JJ saying that's exactly what I think. MJ Dark, Sweet Baby Inc. is responsible for Peter being saved by Mary Jane Croft. I mean, like, that makes no sense, right? Like, something like that makes no sense. It's not that people are like, because you always see this garbage online. You always see this, oh, you don't like this, oh, it means you're like this, like you're racist or something, which just doesn't make any sense. That's just absolutely not true. People just don't like to see things that are put into narratives for no reason and that make no sense. Like, if you were to build a game from the ground up about whatever you want in the diversity inclusion side of things, and it made complete sense, and like, most people would just love that. Like, nobody would care. But when you're shoving stuff into games for no reason, that makes no sense, takes away from the experience and the narrative and the art, that's where I think people have their issues, right? Like, that's where people get upset. That makes complete sense. I mean, that makes complete sense. If you love the art, you love the hobby, you don't want people to come in who probably don't care that much about the art or the hobby itself to put in their political agenda into things. Like, that's where the issue comes in. But I went through this because, like I said, I just been looking at this over the last couple of days, but I don't fully understand it until I was reading through, I was reading through stuff. I watched some videos, but Sweet Baby Inc. controversy refers to the video game narrative consulting group Sweet Baby Inc. and the controversy surrounding it after two employees within the company called to attention. And I saw some tweets this employee put out, just absurd, stupid stuff. Anyways, a company called to attention that a Steam page, this was the thing, a Steam page has been made to identify which games the company had consulted on. So I looked into the Steam page. All this Steam page literally did was tell people which games Sweet Baby Inc. consulted on, because we live in a free society where it's like, if you don't want to give your money to a game that was being consulted on by a company you disagree with, you shouldn't. So realistically, this Steam page was doing a very good service for a lot of people who don't want to be spending their money unknowingly for games that they want nothing to do with, right? Like that's what happens when you live in a free society. You get the option to choose. You live in a capitalist society, you get the option to choose how you spend your money, which is a good thing. So this is crazy. But anyways, the aftermath resulting from the initial call out had reignited tensions in the gaming industry held over from Gamergate, with many calling for the destruction of Sweet Baby Inc. I don't know if people were actually calling for the destruction of Sweet Baby Inc. I think they were just saying like, yeah, like this is a company, this is what they do. If you don't like this, don't play their games. I don't know if that's calling for the destruction of the company. Like that's just, again, capitalism. Like if you don't like what the company does, you don't give them your money. Origin. On February 26, 2024, the Steam user Cabrutus uploaded a Steam group page called Sweet Baby Inc. Detected, meaning that any game that was proven to have hired Sweet Baby Inc. to consult on it would be added to the list, talking about the company and those games in a negative connotation. Yeah, like I don't see any. He put the games in a curated list. Like I don't know. Okay. Meaning he had proven I've hired Sweet Baby Inc. to consult on it, would have added to the list, talking about the company and those games in negative connotation. This was picked up on this by the Sweet Baby Inc. employee Chris Kindred, who posted on their X page 3 days later, February 29th, 2024, calling out the page and claiming it is still in breach of the code of conduct. So I don't know about the code of conduct stuff. I don't believe they actually, all I know is this curator page blew up. Like it completely had the Streisand effect where it's like people tried to get them to, it kind of reminds me of, what happened with Hogwarts Legacy, where it's like people tried to get gamers to boycott Hogwarts Legacy and then it blew up. It's kind of happening with this Steam page. This call out of Sweet Baby Inc. wasn't the first. It was early in the month, February. Sweet Baby Inc. found itself under fire in regards to the Suicide Squad game, which angered a lot of fans of the Arkhamverse games, which Kill the Justice League takes place in. Here's the funniest thing about this here. This is shows like how I don't pay attention to any of this political shit. It's like Suicide Squad. I put out a video about Suicide Squad. Hey Talos, appreciate that, man. Have a good night. I put out a video about Suicide Squad about which is kind of funny. I was like, the media bias in Suicide Squad, because when you look at Suicide Squad and you look at Helldivers 2, they both had major server issues when those games released, and no one really talked about the server issues in terms of reviews for Helldivers 2, but they did when it comes to Suicide Squad. I didn't realize there was this like much deeper thing with the game itself, where people obviously disliked it because of this political stuff, right? Like I didn't fully realize that. And now I'm reading through this, and Suicide Squad was one of the major games here that I guess Sweet Baby Inc. actually worked on. That was found out, I guess, from this curator group. And I mean, Suicide Squad has been an abysmal failure in terms of like the player counts and everything since it was released. Now, I don't know if actually it's a terrible game. I've heard a lot of people that say they love Suicide Squad. So it could be actually a very fun game in terms of gameplay, but a lot of people dislike the narratives. A lot of people disliked the way that they went with the story itself. One of the things that it just brings back to, it's like, obviously narratives are very important, but let's just get back to an era of gaming where it's like focus more so on the gameplay, more so than anything else out there. It's like the gameplay is the core of the game. And if games have good gameplay, you can put in like these just like quirky narratives. They don't need to be that serious. They can just be like fun, and people will enjoy those games. People will enjoy those games. Rachel, my fellow French Canadians are destroying gaming. Oh man, I don't like, are the people at this company even French Canadian, or they just live in Montreal? Because Montreal is a very like bilingual city, very English and very French, depending on where you are on the island, right? You go downtown, pretty much can speak English in most places. Go like West Island, like that's like very English. And then there's obviously some extremely French parts. So Montreal is like kind of like between. But I think there's a lot of people that have left Montreal. A lot of English speakers that have left Montreal recently, but because of like the Quebec government there. That's for a different. That's for a different show. Anyways, so this anger at the game found its way back to SuperBaby Inc. with many content creators singling them out and claiming that games made in collaboration with the company are doomed to be worse than they would have been without. Like this is the thing. I don't know this for sure. Like this could be true or false. What I do understand is about this is that games that get sent to SuperBaby Inc. are like almost complete or essentially complete, and they just give consultation. But like, who knows how much change that they actually put into these games. Sentiment is echoed in TikTok uploaded on February 1st, 2024 by TikToker The Truth Guy, who received over 80,000 views in 1 month. So this guy put a TikTok calling them out, whatever. Okay. Then it's spread out. Okay. I'm not even going to read. I read these tweets. They're just like so absurd. I'm not even going to read them on here because it's just like, go read them yourselves. And now we're here. So with the actions of SuperBaby Inc. being seen by the gaming collective online, callbacks to Gamergate began by being made by content creators online. On March 2nd, 2024, the ex-user and independent artist Kurio uploaded a comic utilizing Vivian James, the pro Gamergate icon, as a contrast against a representative of SuperBaby Inc. Okay, yeah. So then it continues here. Basically, what I understand as to what is going on here, SuperBaby Inc. puts in political agendas into games, takes away from the art of the games. People don't want the art to be destroyed. And it's not about the diversity in games. It's about forcing things into games that make no sense, that destroy narratives. You build a game from the ground up that makes sense in the narrative style, has lots of diversity, inclusion in every sense of the word. Cause like, I don't care about any of that. Like, that's great. I don't care what you are. I don't care what you like. It doesn't matter to me. I literally don't care. People are completely okay with that, but it's about like, you take a narrative, you destroy the narrative just to put a political agenda into a game. That's where the issues arise, and we're seeing consumers like push back against that. I mean, you're seeing a lot of games fail for a lot of reasons related to that. You could say, or you could say maybe just these games were just bad. The issue is because we don't actually know when SuperBaby Inc. actually gets involved into the development of these games. We don't know how much they truly change. But I'm sure there'll be other things coming out about that. Who knows? But yeah, that's the major thing everyone is talking about right now when it comes to gaming, and when it comes to what is happening in the gaming industry. And is it Gamergate 2.0? I don't know. Again, I think it was Ono, it's Alex who made. I watched. Yeah, it was Ono, it's Alex. I watched his video about it, and he made connections back to like the whole Gamergate stuff. So that's my take on it right now. I don't know. It's like I said, I just dove into. If you were to ask me last week, do you know what is SuperBaby Inc.? I would have said no. Do you know what games they've worked on? I would have said absolutely. I have no idea what this company is. I didn't know anything about them. And this weekend has been a very interesting to track and see what has been going on. All right. All right. All right. I guess if it's final, that's another thing that I saw happening. Final Fantasy Rebirth performance at basically it's 30 FPS game on PS5. No one cared. Nobody cared. Literally no one cared. But Starfield, everyone was up in arms. It's a weird thing. I don't know why that stuff happens, and if that's, again, that to me that comes back to like a complete branding, messaging, marketing issue as to why this happens. Also, I guess media people, like, you could also say media as well, but it's like, to me, it's like if Xbox had better marketing and better messaging, where it's like when they released their first party games, people just expected them to be top notch, even if they weren't, maybe people would talk about them in a more positive light. I don't know. But I guess you could also say it's a media who covers things in different ways. The game drops to 720p. I know Final Fantasy VII has a 60 FPS mode, but from everything I've seen on the game itself, it does not. It's a very rough 60 FPS. Like it would probably be a game that benefited from being locked at 30 FPS, which I am sure, I guess in quality it does. Yeah. So it's been an interesting time. Interesting we can get in gaming for sure. With the janitor in charge of marketing, Microsoft stocks will oh, I just realized that I'm wearing my, when we're talking about Canadians and Canada and being in Montreal, I'm wearing a Montreal Canadiens sweater. So I was going to go deeper into the Nintendo stuff, but you guys got me off topic with this whole Sweepy. I wasn't even sure if I was going to talk about that because I saw everyone talking about it, but I didn't know if I had enough knowledge. But I saw this summary website as to what was going on here. Yeah, I did. For democracy, Helldivers 2 is a fun game. I did buy Helldivers 2. I did buy it on PC. It is a fun game for sure. It is definitely a good game. All right. What time is it? It's 11:10. All right. But I'm going to end that here, guys. It's been like 2 hours. We had a lot to talk about today. It was a good stream. It was a good stream. I appreciate everybody here for coming out. Why a Montreal sweater? I'm a massive Montreal Canadiens fan. Out of all the sports teams that I cheer for, it's like by far my most diehard. One good thing about Montreal is the poutine. Yeah, poutine is good. But like there's a good poutine pretty much everywhere now. At least like Ontario, Quebec, you can get some good poutine there in either province. Montreal has great food though, just in general. It's a great city. Yeah, I know Sweet Baby Inc. is in Montreal, and if you hate Sweet Baby Inc., don't attribute that to the entire city because it is a great city. Fun, great food, well, the Habs are great. Unfortunately, the Expos were great until, what happened to the Expos. But it would be a great sports city if they had more sports there. But it's a great city. If you've never been to Montreal, I highly recommend going there. All right, I'm going to end this stream here, guys. I appreciate all coming out. Thank you for another great Sunday. And have a good night, everyone. And obviously, hit the like, hit the subscribe if you're new or whatever, and check out my videos throughout the week, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. Got another video coming out tomorrow. Lots to talk about. But yeah, have a good night, everyone. Have a good night.